Good morning, early game crew. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne, Northeast Columbia's favorite resident. She's Jen Jensen. And we have a theme for today here on Wednesday. That theme, Preston Thorne, turnover margin. And yes, we will eventually get to the All-Star game, Major League Baseball All-Star game last night, especially in Get on the Line.
Ooh. You know what? As with a lot of things on this show, not planned, but Get on the Line might have a baseball theme.
I think it will have a baseball theme because, you know what, I'm just taking a gander at the cut sheet here, too, of the audio that we have. We might have to make that segment a little bit longer. Can somebody that loves Paul Maneri just tell him to chill?
Hey, man, stop. Stop.
You don't have to talk anymore.
Please stop.
You're not an active coach in college athletics. You don't have to talk anymore.
He wasn't an active coach for 2 years.
He also wasn't an active coach here.
Very good point. Salient point, Jen. Jen clocks in at 6:01. She's done for the day.
From downtown. Oh, man. Can he not help himself?
Nah, he hasn't. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't care. And that's actually, I would respect that more. So I don't know. But yeah, we will get there later in the show. But if you need some spice for your day, I'll provide it.
Oh, for sure. And if he wants to talk about it, we will talk about it too.
Because that's the thing. We keep trying to let it go. I feel like as a community, we've moved on. We've got our new dude. Please stop. But got to spank you.
Yep. Oh, he wants to bring it back up. It will be brought back up. We'll do that later on in the program. And before we get into turnover margin 2, we do have the list of players that will be talking for South Carolina representing the program at Media Days. Lenore Sellers going back for another year. Nick Harbor is going to be there in Tampa as well. And so will Peyton Williams.
Yeah, very interesting mix. I think let's start from the back end. Obviously, I think Peyton, what we know of Peyton as a player that has been with the program for a long amount, significant amount of time. Mm-hmm. He's coming in to replace what you said yesterday, the brain trust of the secondary. That's sort of his position. And him going to Media Day only solidifies that for me. You don't send the guy who's just a player on the field unless he's doing something a little bit different. I think we now have an answer as to what role Peyton will be playing on the defense.
Yeah, same way yesterday when I talked about him basically filling DQ Smith's spot as one of the brain trusts of that defense.
Brain trust is a great word.
And Peyton Williams is definitely that. Definitely one of the smarter football players you will find in the sport. And really, I've always enjoyed, I guess, whenever he speaks during the week or after games or whatever, it's pretty insightful. So I'm looking forward to getting to hear from him too and hearing how he's adjusting to his role now as a more of a significant full-time starter. Pretty big year for him. I think he'll end up having a breakout season. One of the reasons why I feel good about this defense is because that secondary is good, especially at doing what, Preston Thorne?
Taking the ball. Turnovers. It's the name of the game. There's only one of them, and that's why it's so important. And if I can take it from you, I have a better chance of winning. If I can take it and I can keep it, I can win this game.
And I can take
how many times did Indiana fumble the ball last year?
Once on the first drive of the season and did not do it again afterwards. And that one fumble is more fumbles than they had losses.
There you go.
I think that makes a ton of sense. And they had a pretty significant turnover margin. Now, turnover margin, one of those things, too, that you can look at year over year and say that won't be every year, right? I think of one of my favorite examples of this is the New Orleans Saints in 2009. We're wearing a Saints shirt right now. So I'm very familiar with that team. Not the best defense in terms of avoiding giving up yards. They would bend a lot, and you could move the ball on them. They led the league in turnovers that year. They led the league in pick sixes that year, and they won a lot of one-score games and got to a Super Bowl and won, in most part because their 7-point lead turned into a 14-point lead because of a pick six late in that game that put it on ice. Owning turnover margin is pretty significant if you would like to win football games. And later on this hour, I'll tell you what I found when I looked at what teams did in in the turnover margin throughout the SEC and in SEC play this year, and how vital that was to them winning football games. But when it came to South Carolina last year, does it tell us anything about A, positive or negative regression? And B, what did it tell us about the team last year? Because if you look at the total turnover margin for South Carolina in 2025, they were +4 in that regard, meaning they forced 4 more turnovers than they had on offense. But if you want to do the positive and negative regression thing, Phil Steele has the barrier set at double digits, one way or the other. If you are -10 or 11, then you have a high chance, about a 70% chance, of being the same record or better the next year. And if you have +10 or 11 or more, then you have about a 70% chance of having the same record or worse the following year.
Just for me, one more time. Reiterate what plus and minus means in turnover margin.
Yes. Plus means you forced more turnovers than you committed. Minus means you turned the ball over more times than you forced turnovers.
So ideally, you want to be in the pluses.
Absolutely.
There we
That
go.
means you are forcing more turnovers than you commit, and that means throughout the course of a 12-game season, or if you played in the college football playoff, a 14 or 15-game season, or even a 13-game season if you just played in a bowl game, you were on the positive end of the cumulative turnover battle throughout the course of a season.
So to reframe that regression conversation again, if you're in the double-digit pluses, that means your team forced a ton of turnovers, which Phil Steele indicates you'll probably be formidable again the next year.
Yes.
Okay.
And it means in terms of improvement, being better than that, you have about a 30% chance. If your turnover margin was +10 or more, then you have about only a 30% chance of being better the next year. 70% of the time, it'll be about the same or worse, right? By a game or so. Indiana was a team that was on that list. Now, a lot of that is the idea that sometimes turnovers are luck, good luck and bad luck, right? And that it can't happen every year. It's kind of like one-score game type stuff. And when you look at South Carolina, too, last year they don't have a number that is going to be in either of those categories because it was at +4. But that was a defense that was good at forcing turnovers. But when I broke it down a little bit and kind of refreshed myself on how the offense took care of the ball last year, or lack thereof, I saw that there were 11 interceptions as a team from 4 different players.
I got Lenoris and Luke.
Cutter Woods threw one.
Okay.
And Mason Love threw one.
Oh. I don't like that. I don't like that.
Don't love it. Mason.
That's a double whammy.
Cutter Woods and Mason Love threw one against Oklahoma. Doty threw one against Vanderbilt. And then Lenoris had his 8 on the season.
Okay.
So 11 interceptions by 4 different players last year. 7 different players fumbled the ball. Lenoris had 6 fumbles. Nick Harbor, Isaiah Gustave, Cutter Woods, Jared Brown, Luke Doty, Rasul Faison all had 1. And when you look at the records in games for South Carolina where they won, lost, or the turnover battle was at 0, the margin was 0, meaning they turned the ball over as many times as they forced. They were 4-3 in games where they won the turnover battle. So all the games they won last year, they had a positive turnover margin in that game. 0-1 in games where the margin was 0, and the only game was Alabama. 0-4 in games where they lost the turnover battle or had a negative turnover margin. And in those, here's the damning thing, Preston Thorne. This is kind of the big thing that I discovered when kind of refreshing myself on last year. In those 4 negative margin games, all losses, they were still forcing an average of 1 turnover per game, meaning they were turning the ball over on average multiple times a game. Mm-hmm. Because turnover margin's 2 different things. It's how well you take care of the ball, and it's how well you force turnovers.
That's why it's a very strong, comprehensive stat.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's why when I hear that, if I was just to guess based on that 4-8 record, based on what I remember the offense being, I would guess the turnover margin would have been Uh, minus. I would have thought it would have been in the minus and probably closer to double-digit minus. Just how I remember it. So to me,
spiritually,
this is another skin on Clayton White's rack where he could put up and say, "Hey, we still." Even though we were 4-8, we still had a positive turnover margin. This means we were getting the ball. We were giving the opportunities.
and that's how the 2025 season felt. If I look at the LSU game, first half of the Oklahoma game, certain points of the Alabama game, there's so many games last year that I could look at and say, the defense gave you a chance and put you in a position to be able to win the game, and you just didn't take it. You declined the invitation to the close game party. Oklahoma ended up being a blowout loss, or lost by like 19 points. It didn't have to be that way because your defense gave you every opportunity to be in that game. LSU was a 10-point loss, but you had every single opportunity to get yourself back in that game or steal it, and you couldn't do it, right? A lot of times last year that was the case, especially earlier on. Then, of course, the Clemson game happened, and not Clemson, this Texas A&M game, and then Clemson, you turned it over late and didn't give yourself a chance because your final game-winning drive attempt was a pick six.
DOA.
Yeah, that was over before it started. Grand opening, grand closing of a final
I
drive.
still think about the feeling I had. I was like, all right, here we go. This maybe something. Oh.
And just kidding. And there's that.
Not only the tip, the pick, and the touchdown. Oh man!
It all happened at once.
Knockout, body blow, finish him.
It's like playing poker. It's like, oh, I got a really good hand here. I'm just going to go all in, and then immediately it's the first person that turns their cards over. It's like a full house. It's like, all right, that's it. That's it. I'm done. But yeah, that was how turnovers affected the team last year. To me, it was your offense. We can tell the story of the offense being bad by the sack numbers, by the negative play numbers, by just the lack of scoring points. It's also reflected here, too, in an inability to take care of the ball. And I think one thing we maybe don't talk about enough with Lenora Sellers in terms of taking care of the ball and things he needs to improve on this year, and it is a must that he do, is taking care of the football from a fumble perspective. Interceptions are one thing. A fumble perspective is another. Again, some of that is offensive line and the amount of pressure that he faced. Some of it, too, is you just have to be able to take care of the ball because it wasn't the offensive line that forced the fumble against Alabama at the end of the game. That turnover was the backbreaker. Against Clemson, the interception was the backbreaker. Whether you want to put that on Lenoris or you want to put it on Nick Harbor, doesn't matter. The end result is a turnover that resulted in 6 points for the other team and took you out of the game.
And to reiterate, those are our two representatives that are going to media day. So these are very important people. You can't have your two most important people contributing to a turnover at the end of a game. You need them to be making a play.
Yes, they need to be making the play that you are banking on making the play at the end of the game. And you just did not get enough of that last year. Does a year in an off season and being a year older, a year wiser, improve that? I don't know. But what I will say is after looking at this from last season, it's going to have to. Because if it doesn't, then you may be looking at a very disappointing 2026 season. I mean, one thing we just have not talked about enough yet as a show is how important this conversation is going to be. That's the offense. Defensively, though, Clayton White's defense has been the best in the SEC at forcing them. How big of a difference does that make in close games? And is this something we can see them replicate again this year? We'll answer that question on the other side as you listen to the early game. We're down to the last few matches, down to only 3. You have a game today, you have the third place game, and you have the championship. That's all we have left here in this exciting global soccer tournament that we only get every 4 years. And DraftKings being live in all 50 states, including South Carolina, means that you can get in on the action every minute, every match, every moment. You could have gotten in on that exciting game yesterday that saw Spain make it to the championship of this tournament. And new DraftKings customers sign up with code 1075 the game, spend $5 to get 200 in total rewards over 21 days. That's code 1075 the game. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click-to-claim issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. Ends July 19th. For terms, go to dkng.co/predictions promo.
A little bit busy this morning on the highways. Hardscrabble Road at Clemson Road, an accident. Also, you'll find one I-77 northbound at Forest Drive. The right exit ramp currently closed. Again, that's 77 northbound at Forest Drive. And Kennerly Road at Walters Road, we have an accident. Pineview at Cliff Kinder Road, there's also an accident. So a few things to be mindful of early on your Wednesday morning. Sunny, 95 today. Yeah, the heat and humidity, it's back. Sunny tomorrow and Friday, 98, 99 will be the highs. Maybe some scattered thunderstorms on Saturday. Right now, though, 76.
We talked about how important the offense taking care of the ball will be to not just, obviously, the turnover margin for your team throughout the course of a year, but for the South Carolina team, winning games in 2026. You didn't take care of it well enough to win games last year. One of the reasons why you lost so many one-score games or close games. One of the reasons why close games turned into not-so-close games at the end of the game. You can't count the LSU loss as a one-score loss because you ultimately lost by 2 scores because you refused to get back in the game because you couldn't take care of the ball. You couldn't take advantage of things. Oklahoma game, similar way, right? The game might have been more spiritually closer to a one-score game than it was a 19-point game, but your offense turned the ball over and you refused to take advantage of what your defense gave you. But defensively, even in a quote-unquote down year last year, and it was down because it just wasn't what it was in 2024, which would have been a very tall ask, right, to replace all those defensive starters and still be a top 10 defense. But defensive SP+, South Carolina was still 31. And I think we could all agree by watching that team last year, while, yeah, they did give up some yards every now and then, they still played well enough for you to win enough games for last year to be considered successful.
Yeah, absolutely. They played well enough where a team with a competent offense could have been able to get them over maybe 1 or 2 of those games. That only gets you to maybe 6, but 6 feels better than 4 for sure.
6 feels a lot better than 4 for sure. But when it comes to what this defense can do in regards to turnover margin next year and helping you increase that number, right? If you limit the ones on offense, which you already talked about being a big deal, can the defense still hold their end of the bargain this season? And when I look at this year's roster, Preston Thorne, I see 5 players that are returning with at least 1 interception. I see a few players returning that forced fumbles last year. Dylan Stewart forced 3 of them. Right? Vicari Swain forced 2 of them. Peyton Williams forced a fumble. There are a few players that are coming back that still were really important when it came to forcing turnovers. Now, David Busey didn't force a fumble last year, but if you remember the year before in 2024 on special teams, punched a ball out at Alabama. So you have guys on this team that are experienced when it comes to forcing turnovers. Clayton White's defenses always seem to be towards the top of the SEC when it comes to forcing the other team to turn the ball over. What does that say about your confidence level that the defense will at least hold up their end of the bargain when it comes to adding to the turnover margin in a positive manner?
This goes to our conversation from yesterday. We know who Clayton White is now, right? We have a very solid 5-year portfolio on what he is as a coordinator, what his defenses tend to be, different players, different offenses, all kinds of things have changed. We have the benefit of having somebody who's been around here for a long time. And that leads me to my point that I wrote down about the idea of creating pressure. Clayton White creates pressure through play calling. And that's why you have Vicari Swain, who has 2 forced fumbles, and those are on blitzes. Because Clayton White will dial up a corner blitz. You can feel it sometimes. You know that it's coming, and he will bring a corner off the edge and get to the quarterback. So a lot of these turnovers are through the direct scheme of Clayton White. They're not necessarily through, players stripping the ball or acts that are happening. A lot of the turnovers are really caused by scheme. That Peyton Williams pick from LSU. That is a scheme turnover. Obviously, you have to have the talent to finish the play and execute it, but that play was caused by the scheme that they were running. To go back the year prior to 2024, the Nick Emmanwori turnover against LSU, the one that we don't speak of very often. That was a scheme turnover. Obviously, Nick has to be a tremendous talent to do it, but the way it was executed was based on Clayton White's scheme. And so you can feel a little bit more confident that these numbers will continue because the same person that called the plays then is calling the plays now.
And I think the coaching and the instruction to get players to be able to recognize certain things. Like that Peyton Williams example, the LSU game, it's one of my favorite plays from all last year. It's a handful of plays, but it's one of my favorite ones because he talked about recognizing at the line of scrimmage the play that they were going to run. It was the play that they used to get the ball to Kyron Lacy in the end zone at that aforementioned LSU game in 2024. It's just a quick slant across the middle. Williams recognized it, jumped in front of it, was able to pick it off. It's the scheme. It's teaching players how to be able to recognize a lot of these different things. All of that together, I think, is what makes a really good defensive coordinator. It's not just the scheme is a huge part of it, right? Because you're the play caller. But being able to teach these certain things, that's where Torian Gray comes into play too. We talked about him a lot yesterday, but it still rings true right now. That pattern recognition and being able to really see things before they happen is something that is a taught trait as well.
I was fortunate enough to play with one of the greatest safeties in SEC history, but for sure in Gamecock history, in Cole Simpson. And playing with Cole, I remember, I think it was Alabama game. We were going over this play that they were running and on the goal line. They were running this like tight end drag essentially. And this was almost guaranteed that they were going to run it. And we practiced against it. We knew it was coming. Cole intercepted it in practice, and then Saturday evening, the same. I mean, almost like it came out of practice because we had done the film study and we had the player to execute. I mean, somebody else back there might have not made the play, but we had one of the GOATs back there. And so a lot of times these turnovers are based on preparation, scheme, and then also you have to have the talent to execute it.
You telling me Alabama wasn't posting up Tyrone Prothro in the back of the end zone?
No, I'm
5'9" or whatever.
What I'm telling you is that Mike Shula was a bad play caller even in 2004. That's what I'm telling you.
That it was predictable even then.
Because even then we knew Mike Shula not the greatest of play caller. That's what I'm telling you.
The prophecy was laid out well before it actually happened.
Correct.
The writing was on the wall. Oh man, yeah, and sometimes you forget that you would have been the play caller for Alabama in that game. One thing this tells me, too, though, when looking back on it, is that Vakari Swain may be a more valuable defensive player than a lot of people think. I've been talking about how good he's been in coverage. His coverage grades are really good. Clearly, an opposing quarterback QBR of 9.7 when they throw in his direction is phenomenal. But he is the only player that you have back that picked off a pass last year and forced multiple fumbles last year. Picked off multiple passes and forced multiple fumbles. When it comes to players on this team right now in 2026 that can be the single most important player to having a turnover margin high enough for you to be able to steal games, you got to do all the work to be in them. A high turnover margin on the positive side can help you steal games that you weren't supposed to win. Vakari Swain may be the most important player in that regard.
That's a really interesting concept that I hadn't really considered, but the idea that he can come on a blitz from the boundary side or he can lock down a side of the field in man-to-man coverage, which allows you to put pressure with other players either. So multiple ways that he is integral to being able to pressure not only quarterbacks but also any times in the backfield.
Are we going to go ahead and anoint Vakari Swain the designated game stealer for 2026 for South Carolina?
You're making a very strong case.
When you have to go play at Alabama,
you're
when
making
you have
a very
to play
strong case.
Texas A&M at home, who could be in the top 10 once again. They've been in the top 10 the last two times you played them. There's a good chance they're in the top 10 when they come here to Willie B. When you play a Tennessee team that has the potential to be really good, can Vakari Swain be the game stealer, right? When you play Georgia at the end of the year and you're able to hold tight and make it a game in the second half, can Vakari Swain be the game stealer? That may be a role that he is playing this year, more important than just kickoff and punt returning and playing defensive back. Could be a role that he ends up playing that's very valuable. Coming up next, though, we talked about turnover margin for South Carolina. What's the turnover margin like for other teams in the SEC? And did other teams live and die by this as much as South Carolina did? The answer may surprise you. We'll tell you what that is next here on the early game. Summer of 2026, well in swing at this point. It's been an eventful summer, and it's going to continue to be an eventful summer because summer is one of those fun times of the year. Cookouts, family visits, weekend guests. My house is busy here this summer. I'm sure yours is too. And if you need a hand when it comes to helping keep the place clean and fresh, Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning is the perfect person to call, the perfect business to call, because this summer they're giving you 26% off all services. Every single one they do. All you got to do is use promo code SUMMER when you book. It's pretty easy. Need your carpets cleaned? You can save 26% on that. Air ducts, 26%. Upholstery, tile, and grout, you can take a wild guess. You're getting 26% off those two, because now is the perfect time to take care of all the dirt, dust, stains, everything that is making your home dirty and bringing in allergens. You can get it cleaner than ever. Just go book online at zerorescolumbia.com and use that promo code SUMMER when you book.
Pineview Road at Cliff Kinder Road, there is an accident reported there. Also, Hardscrabble Road at Clemson Road. And Kennerly at Walters Road in Irmo, also a slowdown due to an earlier accident. The heat and humidity, it is back. 95 for the high today, 98, 99 tomorrow and Friday, each day being sunny. So you can imagine heat index will be creeping up as well. By Saturday, I might see some scattered afternoon thunderstorms. That's a possibility all weekend long. Still staying in the 90s. Right now, though, it's a little bit overcast, and it's 76.
We've discussed South Carolina's reliance on turnovers, but what does it look like for other teams in the SEC in 2025? Well, before we even get into that, Preston Thorne, you know how I mentioned the turnover margin threshold for any type of guaranteed regression, positive or negative, is that double-digit figure mark? Only 2 teams in the SEC had turnover margins, one way or the other, of 10 or more, right? Texas was plus 14 in turnover margin last year.
Okay.
Arkansas was minus 11.
And that's why this metric makes so much sense. If you don't know anything else about the teams that are happening, if you had no previous knowledge, if I said Texas was plus 14, Arkansas was minus 11, you get a very clear picture of how that season turned out.
So there's about a roughly 70% chance that Texas will have a similar record or worse next year, according to this metric.
And this builds on your Arkansas argument.
And Arkansas will technically have a chance to get better because at minus 11, you have about a 70% chance of having the same record or better. But it's easier to get better when you were 2-10 last year and you stunk to high heavens.
But
So bad it was embarrassing.
I did see a clip on TikTok yesterday that Ryan Silverfield.
What's the difference?
He gives up sugar and alcohol during the season, so they'll be all right.
Winner, Ryan Silverfield's liver. Congratulations.
Good for him.
Congratulations, Mr. Silverfield. Good for you. You have more restraint.
I have no idea what he does.
do.
I have no idea what he does during film sessions because those are the 2 drivers of watching film.
If he said he gave up caffeine and all that too, then I would consider him a liar.
I think he might have said that too.
I don't believe him. I don't believe him.
How else do you watch 36 hours of film without either beer, Red Bull, chocolate, something?
Yeah. There's gotta be something that's keeping you awake. Nobody is just naturally awake like that unless you are a vampire. So now I've got another theory that's cooking up behind the scenes here. Ryan Silverfield, vampire? Maybe.
But I digress.
But when it comes to turnover margin, what your record is when you win them and when you lose it, or if it's 0. Georgia was a 0 in turnover margin all year. They gave up they gave up the ball as many times as they took it away last season. But I went through every team's record of what it was in the SEC in games in which they won the turnover battle, lost it, or again, we're at 0. The most glaring one is Texas had 9 games where they won the turnover battle. They were 9-0. And in games in which they lost or had a 0 margin, they were 1-3 in those games. Seemed to be a pretty big deal for them, pretty big key for them to win games. Another notable one, Alabama was 8-1 in games in which they won the turnover battle. Oklahoma 5-0, Ole Miss 5-1, A&M 3-0. You go up and down the list, you'll see it. And the only teams that had a losing record, actually the only 2 teams had losing records despite winning the turnover battle, were teams with really bad offenses. LSU at 2-3, Auburn at 3-4. The only ones with losing records in Arkansas 1-2. Only teams that have losing records when winning the turnover battle. The teams that did win the turnover battle were 55-18, 75%. South Carolina in their games winning the turnover battle only won 57% of the time. Teams who lost that turnover battle won 45% of their games. They were 31-38. The teams that lost it. South Carolina was 0% because they were 0-4. Teams with a turnover margin of 0, right? You're talking about 66%. South Carolina was 0 in that regard.
So here's how this works in real terms, off the sheet, off the statistics. As a defense, it is very difficult to continue playing when we are giving you the ball on several opportunities and you're doing nothing with it. So those teams that lost games despite being in the positive, that leads to friction amongst teammates and coaching staffs, because those are the games where the coach walks in and says, "What are we doing?"
Oh, you want to know the common denominator between LSU, Auburn, and Arkansas?
Yes. What is it?
They all fired their head coach.
And that's exactly how that plays out.
And if you want to talk about Shane Beamer hot seat talk, you won the turnover battle, something that's supposed to be about a 75, according to teams last year, 75% chance that you have of winning a game if you win the turnover battle. And South Carolina only won 57%. That plays into a lot of the themes of last year.
That is, again,
a lot of opportunities.
This is, again, where Clayton White has to be the extreme professional and not try and have a bad look on his face and not try and say anything, because when you continuously are creating turnovers and those guys can't do anything with it, that leads to a lot of tense conversations, because what are we doing?
Especially when both coaches are on the sideline. Sometimes the booth is a good buffer.
Yeah, just a lot of
Side-eyeing.
just a lot of side eye. You got to just work on your eyes, fix your face, try and be a professional, because they might or a lot of this.
I was going to say play call sheet going over the head, turning the headset off and just yelling into it.
And then you come back to normal.
Sees the turnover happen. Clayton White turns his microphone off, sheet in front of his face. Could you not?
A few primal screams here and there.
I think a lot of South Carolina fans had a few
sure.
screams watching those games last year. But I think if this anything tells you how important it is for even teams in your league, right? Again, Georgia, a team that was 0 on turnover margin, gave the ball up as many times as they took it away from their opponents.
That's fascinating.
Very fascinating, and they were the SEC champions. But even in the games in which they won the turnover battle, they were 3-0.
But that also leads to the general feeling that people had about Georgia, where people were like, they're good enough because they're Georgia, but nobody was overly impressed with them, and probably it leads to that number.
And I don't know how many people were thinking national champion. A lot of people would, because SEC champion, you can automatically assume is going to have a really good chance of winning it. But I remember going into the CFP last year and not loving Georgia the same way I was interested with Ohio State, right? I still thought Ohio State was maybe the best team in college football, them in Indiana, right? You felt like the best teams were other places. And that's one of the reasons why you lose the game against Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl in that college football playoff game on New Year's Day. Now, that was a game, too. I think that was also a 0 in terms of turnover margin. But the only games they lost last year are the ones where they lost the turnover battle or it was at 0.
Probably more significant than them giving away. They could never get like the Georgia turnover. They could never get the one that they needed.
Well, they were also down on sacks last year, too. And sacks, big like strip sacks, things of that nature, those cause a lot of turnovers, and a lot of pressure causes quarterbacks to turn the ball over. Last year was the first year in a long time, since, before 2019, that they had fewer than 30 sacks. They had 20 on the season. It was not a quintessential Georgia year in terms of forcing not just turnovers, but also getting to the quarterback. And I think that's maybe what separated them a little bit too. That and the fact that in the beginning of the year, their secondary did get torched a little bit, kind of just made them feel a little more vulnerable deep into the year last year than Georgia teams that we've known of since Kirby Smart's been the head coach that have dominated and, won national titles. But coming up next, though, we're going to get real football sports talky, because we have an international soccer tournament whose name we can't say for copyright reasons update, brought to you by the British Bulldog, and that even includes a massive upset yesterday. We'll tell you about it coming up next, if I could speak.
Have you noticed the weather lately? Yes, the last 2 days, it's been cool. There's been overcast. We've had rain, and that's been awesome. But guess what? That is not going to last. It's going to get hot again because it's July, and this is Columbia. And the folks from AAA Heating and Air are here to help you with your home comfort because your home comfort is their top priority. Don't wait any longer. You might have been okay for the last couple of days, but sooner than later, you're going to need to have your AC up to task. And the expert technicians are ready to work on your system and get it in prime condition. And if you want even more peace of mind, ask about the AAA Comfort Club, where members enjoy priority scheduling, flexible visits, and exclusive discounts on future services. Take your comfort to the next level. Call AAA Heating and Air today at 803-920-3771. That's 803-920-3771.
It's time for an international soccer tournament whose name we can't say for copyright reasons in this segment because it's sponsored by the British Bulldog, the ideal place to go and catch all of these matches. Because today is the day to go because England and Argentina are playing. Before we even get into that, though, there was some big things that happened yesterday in terms of France and Spain. France, the favorite in this, a pretty large betting favorite, got beat 2-0 to Spain yesterday. And if you're a believer that defense wins championships, yesterday's game in Arlington, Texas, at Jerry World, is the greatest ammo you could have ever gotten because that French team is one of the best offensive teams in all of sports that I've seen. I mean, this was a team that had a goal differential, one of the highest throughout a tournament that we've only seen by winners of this tournament. And Spain kept them off the board completely for the first time in a 90-minute stretch in this event.
As the internet pointed out to my eyes, yesterday was Bastille Day.
The 14th.
Not great.
Oh, wow.
Not great for France. Bad timing. And that'd be like us losing on the 4th of July. Like, you can't.
You can't lose on Bastille Day.
You can't. That's the one day you cannot lose on as a national team is Bastille Day.
What better way to celebrate the storming of an armory than not having any armory on the pitch and scoring any goals?
Tough day.
Delicious irony.
Yeah.
I mean, very rich irony right
Appreciate
there.
the internet for pointing that out.
There was no revolution in Texas yesterday.
Nope. Not good.
Only done by the Spanish.
I have a sport talk for you.
This is a good stuff.
And I'm going to use one of your terms. Is Argentina gutsy or is Argentina getting away with it?
This is great. Argentina's getting away with it.
Okay.
Like thieves in the night. Look, Cape Verde did everything they could. Now, we are learning Cape Verde wasn't just some scrappy underdog story. They could ball, right? There's only one team that has gotten a draw with Spain, and that was Cape Verde. What has kept them off the scoreboard has been Cape Verde. Cape Verde took Argentina to extra time and had them on the brink of having to go to penalty kicks. But Argentina giving up a few goals to Cape Verde is one thing because that's not something they did. They did a lot of drawing in the group stage. Weren't scoring a ton of goals. They were great defensively. Argentina got away with it. They play Switzerland over the weekend. They get a goal early. They sit around. Switzerland goes down 10 men, and they score. And then with 10 men, you can't score on them before this game goes to extra time. Then you go to extra time, and then finally the dam breaks for Switzerland. They give up a few goals. Argentina made some plays, but they've been getting away with it, which is why I think they won't get away with it today.
So you think this is where it ends?
I think this is where it ends. I think this is where your magical pixie dust kind of ends. Now, I wouldn't mind seeing Argentina win.
Which game was the one where Messi was on the pitch crying?
I think that was the one where they got away with it against Egypt because they were down. How did I forget that one? They were down 2 goals to Egypt with like 10 minutes left before stoppage time. Got a break, a VAR break, because that took an Egypt goal off the board. And then they scored 3 goals out of nowhere, played out of their minds for 10 minutes. Yes, there is gutsy, but also you got away with it. You played like poo for 80 minutes and got away with it.
I felt like the framing on this one is an Elijah Campbell special.
Oh, this is right down my alley.
Uh-huh.
There was a whole lot of getting away with it.
So today, we're going to see.
It's like that kleptomaniac that you knew in high school that would go to the local Target or Walmart and just get really sticky fingers, got really good at it, and then all of a sudden one day asset protection picks up on them, and they think they're getting away with it, and they get met at the door.
They're going to get caught.
They're going to get met at the door today. That's my theory. And if they end up pulling out another win where they come back down 2 goals or whatever, then I'm going to be on the thought process of maybe you're a team of destiny.
I love it because that can switch very quickly.
That can switch.
This can go from this team sucks to team of destiny very quickly.
Just like that. Just like that, you can become a team of destiny. Right now, but they have been getting away with it. I think they should have. Once Switzerland went down 10 guys, you have to score.
There's somebody in Argentina sports talk right now that's like, I'm telling you, we're not as good as we think we are. There's somebody sounding the alarm.
And nobody wants right now.
And nobody wants to hear it.
Nobody does. Maybe Manu Ginobili's doing it right now. Maybe it's Andreas Nocioni. Somebody is saying, hey, we are getting away with this. We have to change how we play, or England will beat us.
And they're like, oh, you're just a Debbie Downer. You do this all the time. And he's like, no, just look at the numbers.
No. I'm sure a lot of them are saying, this is a team of destiny. And I'm like, you have to be like, no. You got away with it against Egypt.
You're
got
my
away with it against
density.
Cape Verde. Oh, they're getting away with it. Jen Jensen. Getting away with it. They can't keep getting away with it.
We'll see.
I think England gets them today. You're talking about a team that feels like a team of destiny. They caught their own breaks in that Norway game. But if the winner today takes on Spain for all the marbles on Sunday, and you thought it was a bummer us having one day of no games last week, we'll go several.
Sunday. Okay.
For all the marbles. Hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2 coming up next. What about the people in the purple pants in the upstate? We'll talk about them next. As we just mentioned, that tournament is coming down to the final games. There's a massive one today between England and Argentina, and you can get in on that action, my friends, over at DraftKings. Every moment, every match, the biggest moments that are coming up, you can get involved right here in South Carolina because the DraftKings app is live here in South Carolina. The world's biggest stage, the biggest games of the summer, in the palm of your hand. New DraftKings customers can sign up with code 1075TheGame. Spend $5 to get $200 in total rewards over 21 days. That's code 1075TheGame. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click to claim issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. Ends July 19th. For terms, go to dkng.co/predictions promo.
Platte Springs Road at Bachman Drive, an accident there. Also, South Lake Drive at I-20. We have a report of an accident. Earlier slowdowns have been cleared. Good news there. And sunshine for the next few days. We will enjoy that, but the temperatures are going to be going back up. Increased humidity and all of the glory of summertime in South Carolina. 95 today, 98 tomorrow, 99 on Friday, 76 right now.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And with talking season upon us, we've been previewing South Carolina season really since it ended, since the roster has been finalized. We've been talking about South Carolina for a long time, but there's a team in the upstate. I know we have some fans of that team that listen. As Preston calls them, the Purple Pants.
Shout out to y'all.
They play football too. They have a big season coming up.
Huge season on the brink.
A narrative season. Really, Dabo Sweeney may be, to me, in one of the more fascinating positions in college football because he does have an incredible pedigree. How many coaches in college football coaching right now, Preston Thorne, have multiple titles?
Is it just him?
Kirby.
I was going to say him and Kirby. That's the only one I was going by. I couldn't remember if Kirby had another one. But yeah, so yes.
And that's a pretty big deal. You are in a pretty exclusive company in terms of what you have built your program to be. But it hadn't been that in the last couple of years. And Dabo, notoriously not as embracing of using things like the transfer portal. I know they have a pretty good NIL fund over there. But when it comes to the transfer portal, something he's a little more hesitant to do. He likes to build his program his way. And honestly, I do respect that. He's gotten more invested in it the last couple of years. Remember Will Helt last year, they got from Purdue, ended up being a pretty big player for them, even in a very disappointing season. But if you look at the results the last couple of years, 7-6 last year. And as a team that was preseason, top 5?
Yeah, I would position that last year was one of Dabo's most disappointing years, just before the fact of how much talent they had, as evidenced by the amount of players that were picked in the NFL draft, 9, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's the simple heuristic. You can't have more players drafted than wins. That's not a good look. That means something went horribly wrong. And so this year is a real narrative conversation around Dabo because I know, close your ears, I know this is the home of the Gamecocks, but that program has been a staple of college football. Mm. There's a generation of college football fans who don't know anything except Clemson 10 wins market.
The term Clemsoning means nothing to
them. Nothing. That doesn't even exist to them. So they and I get why Dabo gets so thorny because he's like, hey, I did this.
Right. Remember where we were.
You all are pining for the days of yesteryear, but it was me. It's not like it was some distant coach.
I am the yesteryear.
It's me. And so I understand why he does have a little bit of why he bowls his back up a little bit because he's like, hey man, I did this. That being said, 7-6 not gonna cut it.
Not with that roster they had last year. Not with a quarterback that I think is going to get some starts in the NFL this year. It's more because it's a Jets thing and a Geno Smith thing, but I think Cade Klubnik might get a few starts actually this year. But you also had an offensive lineman that was taken in the first round. You had a defensive lineman taken in the first round. Avion Terrell is a drafted cornerback. You had T.J. Parker, a guy off the edge, who was also drafted. You had draft picks up and down that roster. Antonio Williams, drafted by the Washington Commanders. You had draft picks all over that football team, and you went 7-6. This is a really big year for Dabo to prove that he's still got it, right? Like this is from a coaching and narrative standpoint, all allegiances in this rivalry aside, any college football fan and just appreciator of the game of college football looks at Dabo Swinney and saying, this is the year that you can turn the clock back, but you need to. It's not going to be as guaranteed as last year in terms of NFL draft picks, but you still have a lot of talent on the roster. I look at the roster, and I still see a ton of talent, right? Like T.J. Moore and Bryant Wesco, still really good receivers. I like Tyler Brown a lot. You know, I like what you have on some of the places on defense. I think Sammy Brown's a really good linebacker. Amari Adams at defensive tackle is a guy who was a number one player in the state of South Carolina, coming out of South Florence when he was in high school. There's a lot of talent there, too. But now the point is not just talent. You've had talent for 15 years now. Now is the time to continue winning and building on things. If you were a Clemson fan, that's what you're looking at, is you have to find a way to turn that talent back into wins like you did a decade ago.
And a decade is a long time. A decade is a long time, and that's where, as I just said, there's a generation who only knows Clemson for winning. Well, we're coming up on a generation who maybe doesn't remember 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's coming up on time. Time very much starts accelerating, especially when you're having mediocre type seasons. But you said it just now. You're trying to get that old thing back. And what better thing than to bring Chad Morris back, baby?
Feelings, nostalgia.
And that feels a little bit desperate on both sides. Chad's career didn't progress. He obviously didn't work out at Arkansas the way he wanted it to. He's been around college football. It's almost like, hey, man, we split up. We went into the world. Let's just try this. Let's try and make this work again.
You're struggling without me. I'm struggling without you. Let's try this again. For the kids.
Can we ignite for the kids? It feels like it. I don't know. I know some Clemson folks. I know they maybe have. Many of them were not sad. It's really interesting. They weren't sad to see Chad leave. They're very happy to have him back now. And so that's an interesting thing of be careful of what you hope and wish for. Ideally, you would love to have Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott back, dialing them up to the championship days. Tony Elliott's coaching, Jeff Scott's doing real estate. That ain't happening, right? So that's over. They brought in Garrett Riley, who was supposed to be the hot guy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something for us to pay attention to because Garrett Riley was supposed to be the hot guy. Sonny Dykes.
Mm-hmm.
It never worked out with Garrett. It just never fit. And I wonder what the situation is going to be on offense this year. They also have some defensive issues. There's some stuff there. I love the way you frame that. A narrative building season. And also hot seat season.
You think so? I think there's been a lot more pressure now than he's had in a long time.
I don't know if it's just the frustration seems to be building on both sides,
mm-hmm.
where Dabo, if they're not as successful as they've been, I could foresee a future where he steps away before it gets too bad, or they come to some sort of mutual agreement that it's time to move forward. Because I would say another 7-6 year this year, they're having a lot of conversation.
Because in maybe your more optimistic Clemson fan could say, hey, look, just in 2024, we won the ACC, got back in the college football playoff. True, but not with the same stranglehold you've had on that conference historically. It took Miami and Cam Ward suffering an epic meltdown at Syracuse in the last week of the season for them to be able to backdoor their way into it. And then to their credit, they did beat SMU in that ACC championship game, and they got themselves into a playoff. Again, credit where it is due. You had to win that game when you got that opportunity, but it took a lot for you to get there. And then with what Miami just did, going to the national title game, the weird ACC rules that allowed for a 5-loss Duke team to be playing in the ACC title game against Virginia. A year like that in which a lot of weird stuff happened in your league, you couldn't take advantage of. If anything, you contributed to a lot of the weird stuff that happened in your league because you were so disappointing last season. This is a big year to kind of turn that around in a narrative-building season with a quarterback who has not been a full-time starter. I know, Christopher Vizina did have to step in the SMU game last year and actually did play really well in that game. They lost. I don't know how much of that is his fault. Because if I'm not mistaken, he threw for over 300 yards in that game. You are going to go into the season with a week 1 at LSU with a fresh first-year full-time starter at the quarterback position and having to figure out what you're doing at running back despite having also some talent at the skill positions.
And this is the first time, and I would say in a decade, where Clemson doesn't have a name brand at quarterback. Since Deshaun Watson, they've had somebody who was highly anticipated, maybe even 5-star. I'm not sure what Cade was. I know Cade might have been on that.
I think he was a 5-star.
So this is the first time that they have not had a 5-star, highly recognized, well-regarded guy coming in at quarterback. Now, DJ obviously didn't work out to the extent that they wanted it to, but they've always been, for a decade straight, they've been set at quarterback. And this is the first time where he might be good, but there's just question marks around who he is.
Because I know they like him, but now it's one thing to come in a spot start and throw for a lot of yards. Now is the week-to-week grind. I think that's the big difference. You see a lot of schools that are kind of in positions that Clemson's in where you have a new full-time starter, but they have started some games. How does that dynamic change when you are relied upon to be the guy every single week? That does change a little bit. It certainly does change how you operate on a week-to-week basis. And with a team with, I think, this much pressure, I don't know if there's a team in the ACC that's experiencing more pressure. You know, Miami's not feeling it. I don't think SMU's been playing with house money ever since they got to the league. They paid a bunch of money to get to the ranks of Power 4 football. I don't know if there is a team that is experiencing more pressure to win this year in the ACC than Clemson, and doing it with a quarterback who's going to be a full-time starter for the first time in college is one of those things that makes it a lot more interesting. It makes them hard to project, too, because I look up and down the roster. There are things that I like, and there are things that make me go, that can get you beat in some games. There are some things where I'm like, oh, well, maybe if Sammy Brown's an All-American linebacker, he can make up for maybe some of the inexperience that you have up front. But some of the guys up front are really talented. So if they're better than expected or ahead of schedule, then they can be really good. There are a lot of ifs, right? They operate on as many ifs as maybe even South Carolina does. There's a lot of similarities in terms of just the number of ifs that you have, but they're maybe under as much in their league under more pressure than I think anybody else in that conference.
Yeah, and when you talk about that pressure, it's because of they've raised the bar of what is expected around there. I hate to say it, but, man, one of the hardest phrases is ACC, another Clemson championship. Like, that is a bar. To be able to say that, to be able to say that and mean it and back it up, that has been something. If I wore purple pants, I'd be boasting. But also, I'd be like, hey, what's going on around here? Because you get used to certain things, accustomed to lifestyles. You get used to it.
I mean, this is like women's basketball here. Like, okay, we expect this now.
You don't even start paying attention until the Final Four. And that's kind of how Clemson is. They're like, all right, wake me up when the CFP starts. Wake me up when we got 9 or 10 wins. And that's a luxury to have, but it's very difficult to perform under those circumstances.
It is. And it can only go so long, right? The nature of college sports is cyclical, right? There are teams that do end up having dynasties, but once that kind of plateaus, it's hard to get back to that point. And now we've seen, a Clemson program that was experiencing 10, 11 wins every single year. Since 2021, they've lost at least 3 games every single season. It's what feels uncharacteristic at first now becomes maybe the norm. And if you are a Clemson fan, if you're wearing purple pants, you don't want that to become the norm, especially the part where they've lost to South Carolina at home the last 2 times they've made the trip. And South Carolina is going to make the trip in the last week of the regular season this year. What happens if South Carolina wins that game? I know here in Gamecock country we'd be thrilled to see that happen a 3rd straight time. And I think it would be funny that, since 2022, these teams are just beating each other on the road and home field advantage just not mattering at all.
Yeah.
I think would be kind of a funny thing to happen. But that would start to weigh in and weigh heavily on that fan.
I'd also like to put my bid in early for a noon game. I don't know if we have a time slot for that one yet. But
I don't think we do.
I would like to put my bid in for a noon game. It's been very good to us.
It has.
It's been awesome as a viewer.
Last 2 have been great.
I need that. I would like that to happen one more time.
Just one simple request. It's all we're asking for from the scheduling gods. That is all that we are asking for. But coming up next, though, it's the early game morning meeting. It's the summer of the biggin. But we're going to go down memory lane. Preston Thorne, he loves lists as much as I do. What's his list of the best offensive linemen he ever had to face against in college football? Well, we'll get Preston's thoughts on that coming up next year in the early game. Look, you want to talk about pressure. We were just talking about pressure when it comes to Clemson football. There's real-world pressure that comes with tax issues, whether it's business tax issues or income tax issues. That can be a lot of pressure, way too much for one to handle alone, and that's where John Ecton and the Ecton Law Firm come into place to alleviate you of that pressure, help you get one step closer to a worry-free life. And you can start that entire process. This is something that's bothering you. You can start that process with the Ecton Law Firm by dialing them up at 803-771-9800. That's where you can get in contact with John and his experienced team at the Ecton Law Firm to talk through the issues that you're facing and hear about the local solutions that they have helped thousands of families and businesses with, just like yours here in the state of South Carolina, get out of that IRS maze. Again, that number 803-771-9800, or you can always visit them online at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTONlawfirm.com.
Broad River Road at Roshmetz Road, an accident in progress there. Platte Springs Road at Bachman Drive, we have an accident. And South Lake Drive at I-20, also, you'll encounter a slowdown due to an earlier accident. And that forecast, several days of mid to upper 90s is what we're expecting. Sunshine each and every day the remainder of this week. So 95 today, 98 and 99 tomorrow and Friday. Now, we are going to see the chance for some afternoon scattered thunderstorms coming up this weekend. But the highs will still remain in the 90s. Right now, it is 76.
It's the summer of the biggin. We've talked about South Carolina's current offensive line ad nauseum this summer. We'll continue to do so. Kind of a big deal. But for today's morning meeting, Preston Thorne's going to go down memory lane and tell us the best offensive lineman he had to square up against when he was playing at South Carolina.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Even if we're reliving bad memories.
Let's go. Good morning, great day. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great day. Today will be an awesome day.
All right, Preston Thorne. Now, the best offensive lineman you had to play against in your time at South Carolina. You got to play against future pros, all pros, but from a perspective of somebody that had to play against them, it's one thing to watch a really good offensive lineman on TV or at the stadium. It's another thing to have to actually be on the field and line up against them and figure out why they are so good.
Okay. Here's somebody I don't remember. Let's start there. I don't remember Andrew Whitworth. And according to the film, I played against him. I think I played against him maybe twice. I don't remember him at all. And when I'm watching him on TV, I'm like, LSU, did I play against? Oh, wow.
I did.
And I don't remember Andrew Whitworth at all. One of the greats, obviously. So he's somebody who I do not remember. Now, for the people that I do remember, let's do a quick list. Jamar Nesbitt, he is a South Carolina legend from Summerville. I did not play against Jamar, but my first time ever entering your weight room, the coaches at Summerville said, "Hey, Preston, you look like you can go lift with Jamar Nesbitt, an all-SEC South Carolina lineman." I was in 9th grade.
Yeah, you can live with that guy. Him?
He was back from college, and he was lifting in our weight room. And they was like, "Hey, go lift with him." It was Jamar and Omar, his younger brother. And that's the worst day of my weightlifting life. So, Jamar, shout out to you. Another South Carolina local legend that I played in high school, Alex Barron, played for Florida State. Tackle, played for Florida State, was there with was part of like the Greg Jones, Peter Boulware era, that very solid squad at Florida State. Alex Barron was great. Shout out to OW. Now, for the top three. I'm going to go with a combo here. And this is from my time where I wasn't playing against another team, but I was playing on the scout team, where if you don't know what scout team is, that's where you have to prepare the team for the next team. And oftentimes, as a scout team defensive lineman, you just have to go get beat up. And I would just get beat up by Travell Wharton and Cedric Williams, two all-SEC linemen. And those were my friends. But friendship only lasts for so long, especially when you're hot and you're on the practice field and Lou Holtz is yelling at you to get it done. It's a very delicate dance. So having to play against Travell, who, again, I just read one of the most incredible statistics, gave up a sack in his second game as a freshman, no more for the rest of his career. 45 straight starts without giving up a sack. We will have Travell on the show a little bit later in the summer. Shout out to Travell. And Cedric, obviously, is the offensive line coach, probably best known for his work with Torricelli Simpkins. So he is a guy that I had to play with. Now, for the combination, the last two, It's a combo.
Okay.
And it might surprise you because number 2, Jason Peters.
Number 2.
Number 2, Jason Peters.
One of the greatest offensive linemen to ever play. At number 2.
Jason Peters played NFL football for 21 years.
I'm sorry for that man's knees.
The dancing bear of the dancing bear variety, played forever as a defensive lineman. As an offensive lineman, there's a chance he might get called into a camp coming up here in a couple weeks. Just he played for as long as he wanted. But Jason Peters, number 2, because when I played against Jason Peters was playing tight end.
Tight end.
Yes.
He's out there catching passes.
He was playing tight. Well, no, he was not catching passes. He was just another lineman at the end of the line.
Oh, so that was he's a tight end on paper.
He was an extra tackle.
He's there to block.
And he was an extra tackle because he was lined up next to number 1, Sean Andrews.
Ooh.
Sean Andrews, offensive tackle, Arkansas. If you just Google his name, he will consensus come up as the best offensive lineman in the early 2000s in the SEC. First round draft pick. Mm-hmm. Again, another guy who I just read gave up 2 sacks in his whole career. 2 sacks in his whole career. He gave up 2 sacks in his whole career. First round pick, played for the Eagles, had some injury issues. That's why he didn't play for the NFL as long as Jason did. But those 2 played next to each other.
Good Lord.
And I happened to play against Arkansas. It was the first game of my freshman year, my redshirt freshman year, the first game that I started. I had the pleasure of playing against Arkansas. And maybe that's why that Little Rock Stadium rings so loud in my head, because they were beating on me the whole time.
And it's loud.
And it's loud, and I'm getting tossed around. And I remember Charlie Strong, I don't know if he was trying to motivate me or what he was trying to do, but his statement to me was something along the lines of, "Hell, Thorne, he's a freshman, you're a freshman." And I was like, we are not the same.
That is not just a freshman.
Chronologically, yes, we are the same. That is where it stops.
We might have been born the same year, but that is about it. We are not made of the same stuff, because he is made of something different. Granite, I believe. Made concrete.
Something impenetrable.
It's crazy. And watching Sean Andrews that game, it wasn't just me, thankfully. He was just tossing people around. He was a true freshman. I was a redshirt freshman, which is a different story. He was straight out of high school, tossing folks around. It was crazy. That Arkansas squad, Sean Andrews, Jason Peters, Matt Jones, Felix Jones, Batman, Amar Carroll. Like, they had so many dudes on that squad. But yeah, number 1, Sean Andrews, number 2, Jason Peters, and they played right next to each other.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I don't wish that on anybody. That was baptism by fire.
Hey, welcome to the SEC, pal.
This is what we call a brick wall.
You're going to run into it.
Good luck.
All day long. Good luck. So you're telling me the 2 sacks Sean Andrews gave up in his entire career did not come by way of Preston?
Wasn't this guy. It wasn't. But to be fair, it wasn't any of our guys. I don't think it didn't happen against us for sure. That team was phenomenal. I believe we went in there number 9. It's on CBS. All the games run on TV, man. And I got my head beat in for a solid 4 quarters. It's crazy. I don't feel bad. I don't feel as bad now. The longer Jason Peters played in the NFL, I'm like, all right, man.
Hey, get in line, Mr. Thorne, of all the other people, the defensive linemen that Jason Peters victimized in an NFL career.
Yeah, he beats up NFL dudes all day, so I don't feel bad. And Sean Andrews, a first-round draft pick. So yeah, that's my list of offensive linemen who I want no parts of.
That you still remember to this day.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because a lot of times you just line up. It's kind of like the nameless, faceless opponent. You just line it up against another big nasty. I don't know what they look like. I don't remember much details about them, but there are a few where you're like, whoa. Something about it's something about somebody putting their hands on you and you can't do anything about it. This is the worst. Very bad feeling. Like, they just grab your shoulder pads and you're like, get off me. Get off me.
Ref holding, please. Help me out a little bit.
And tell me, you're saying, are there conversations out there like you're yelling at each other, like if a play is happening, like get off me or anything like that? Do you do any of that?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot more. It's football way more conversational than you think.
Okay.
A lot of talk, good, bad, ugly, whatever the case is, and even in high percentages, not necessarily trash talk, just a lot of conversational things. But to those dudes, yeah, shout out to Shawn Andrews and Jason Peters.
Been like, hey, both of you, take it easy.
Please
I'm tired.
stop.
This is not fun for me.
No
Please.
fun at all.
Please stop. But coming up next, though, I'm sure Jason Peters and Shawn Andrews could have gotten Denny Green Awards if we're handing them out in 2001, especially for Jason Peters and his career. But we'll tell you who in sports is exactly who we thought they were. Coming up next.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work. It does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you, and they will take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home, looking to increase the value of your home, Absolute Glass can take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. You say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
In Irmo, Broad River Road at Rosh Metz, there is an accident there. Also, Broad River Road at Pet Sites Road, Lawrence Street at Hampton, Platte Springs Road at Bachman Drive, and South Lake Drive at I-20. So definitely busy this morning on the highways. Do be careful if you would. We aren't going to see any rain for a couple of days, but we're going to see sunshine and humidity. Be feeling that for sure. 95 today, 98 and 99 tomorrow and Friday. Next chance for some scattered thunderstorms comes in on Saturday afternoon. It's warming up, though, 76 currently.
The Bears are what we thought they were. They're what we thought they were. We played them in preseason. Who the hell takes a third game in the preseason like it's bull? We played them in the third game. Everybody played 3 quarters. The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
And we're not letting them off the hook today. No, we're not. It's time to give out some Denny Green Awards. Who in sports is exactly who we thought they were. Who was on brand this week? Preston Thorne, I have 2 leagues. 2 professional sports leagues.
Let's roll with them.
Now, do you want to hear why the NFL is on this list or the MLB first?
Let's go MLB first.
Topical. All-Star Game was last night. And they did a whole long production before the game. John Smoltz narrating it, helping put it together, of why it's the year of the pitcher in Major League Baseball. And you know what the All-Star Game consisted of last night? 27 strikeouts.
Yeah.
27 strikeouts. The American League, who won for the 11th time in 13 years, struck out 12 times. The National League as a team struck out 15 times. It probably is the year of the pitcher. Pitching has gotten a lot more advanced. There is ridiculous movement.
There's new pitches. They invented new pitches.
I saw more knuckle curves last night than I thought I would ever see in a game.
It's as if we've been playing baseball forever, and then they just come up with slurve. What is that?
Where did that come from?
I was just getting used to a slider, and all of a sudden we have a slurve. What's going on here?
Some ridiculous stuff.
2-seamers, 4-seamers, all kinds of crazy things.
All types of seamers.
Also, cheating. Pitchers putting a little bit of that. Pitchers have always used a little bit of grip, but
A little bit of something.
But they're going for it now.
It is. That rule changed nothing in regards to how fast these pitches are being thrown.
Notice you haven't seen. It was like maybe 2 years ago when they was like patting folks down and making them strip on the mound. You don't see a lot of that anymore, and I wonder if they just got tired of enforcing it.
Which I could totally see why you could get tired of enforcing that.
And as a pitcher, you're just gonna be like, they can't catch everybody. Catch me if you can.
Right. Good luck. But the stuff last night that was being thrown, it was one of the reasons why I love the MLB All-Star Game, because it is a different pitcher every inning, and you get to see a lot of different players at once. But, man, there's only one pitcher who did not play well last night, and that was the starter for the National League, Christopher Sanchez, who was the pitching representative of the Philadelphia Phillies in his home ballpark, and he was the one who gave up 3 runs despite not giving up a run in 50 innings, in his last 50 innings for Philadelphia. Gave up 3 in the All-Star Game last night.
Yeah. That's why you could just write it off as it was just an exhibition.
It's an exhibition. Playing against the best players in the world. I just so happen to be the only guy that got.
Now you are a holdout for MLB All-Star Game.
Do love it.
Lived up to did you get what you needed from it?
Yeah, a little bit of a snoozer.
It wasn't cool seeing the pitchers dominate like that?
I do like seeing the pitchers dominate. I just wish people brought their bats with them. Just a little more than what we saw.
Quick question, follow-up. From last year, are we still using torpedo bats? Is that
still a thing, I think?
We just don't talk about it anymore?
I guess it's the novelty's completely worn off of the torpedo bat.
That was like a huge thing for maybe 2 weeks last year.
But if you want to say that the MLB is having the year of the pitcher this year, I think the All-Star Game is probably your perfect example as to why. Everybody pitched well except for, well, obviously Christopher Sanchez and the one guy from the Cardinals who hit Junior Caminero in the hands. And he's not off the hook. We're getting back to him later. The National Football League gets a Denny Green Award because would it surprise you, Preston Thorne, that a former first-round draft pick who got charged with kidnapping in a robbery incident, once he posts bail, is now, and after getting released by the team that he was employed by, is now having workouts and interviews with the Jets, the Seahawks, the Texans, and the Colts. 4 different NFL teams have scheduled meetings with Terrion Arnold after he was just last month, not just charged, turned himself in connection to a robbery and a kidnapping that occurred. The NFL's not going to beat these allegations anytime soon. You're just not.
And that's why it's almost impossible to take the NFL seriously whenever they try to take any type of moral type of stance. It's like, come on, man.
Come on.
We know what's going on here.
Money talks.
Yeah, it hasn't even been a full month since this whole thing happened. A month. And teams are like, oh, the Lions released him. We can get him for cheap.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. They're gonna drive the price down and then see what happens, see what comes after it. Now he hasn't gone through. He's going through the justice process now, correct?
Correct.
And will there be a trial or is he pleading out?
I do think he is going to be pleading out. He will not have to wear an ankle monitor, but he will be kind of prohibited from leaving his house with the exception of work and legal obligations.
Yes, the story is, if you don't know the story of the Terrion Arnold situation, it is a ridiculous story. I mean, he essentially sent people to get what he thought was his possessions back. He hired not good doers,
right,
to get the situation done. He's 100% responsible for his ridiculous situation. But I guess they're like, well, he didn't do it. I guess that's what
he just paid somebody.
They're rationalizing it in their mind.
He just used the power and the money that he has as an NFL player to get somebody else to commit this robbery and kidnapping. That's all.
I'm picturing, it wasn't like they went to the house and, rang the doorbell. Candy Graham?
Yeah.
Like,
we came on behalf of Terrion. Can we please have his stuff back?
Yeah.
Trick or treat. Why are we trick or treaters outside my house? It's February. That's when this incident occurred. But according to ESPN, currently out on a $1 million bond and is subject to home confinement with the exception of work and legal appointments.
Gosh, wouldn't it be a shame if he didn't get the right to go play and earn that really big salary, and actually had to face consequences a little more heavily? But to your point, Preston, NFL is pretty slow on that kind of stuff. Because it's a star, it's a big, what they don't care.
We'll let the process play out.
Yeah.
And as the process is playing out, he can play.
He can play out too.
Also, that's arrangement. Say that arrangement one more time.
Currently out on a $1 million bond and is subject to home confinement with the exception of work and legal appointments.
Go ahead.
There's nothing more that an NFL coach would want from his players than to be confined to home and work.
Correct.
That's all we want.
And your legal appointments.
Yeah. Just go to work at the facility and go home. That's what they want for all of their players.
I just kind of want to see a football player playing in a game and just see that ankle monitor. I just think that'd be fun. There was somebody on Dancing with the Stars who, had an ankle monitor. So, it's kind of a fun thing. Mm-hmm.
Really adds to the lore of your sport.
Exactly. People would aim for that, like in tackling or something, just to inflict a little more pain or something. Could be fun.
Or an intimidation factor.
Oh, that's true, too.
You see this beeping monitor on my ankle? Do you know what I'm capable of?
Uh-huh.
I think it was Ryan Moton, who played defensive back for the Titans, posted a picture a couple of years ago of Aaron Hernandez standing over him and yelling at him during a game.
Oof.
And he quoted, this guy said, quote, "I will bleeping kill you." And I thought he was just talking trash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was not.
No.
Somebody's wearing an ankle monitor on a football field. It's not just trash talk. Those can become promises.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
That man faced death in the face. He had no idea at the time. Coming up next, though, we're going to put some folks on the line, including one guy who just can't help but keep himself in the conversation here in Columbia, South Carolina. If you don't know who it is, we'll remind you of who it is next here on the Early Game. Oh, we're getting to the fun part now. Just 3 matches left here in this global soccer tournament that everybody's talking about, and you can talk about it even more because you can get in on the action with DraftKings, because DraftKings is live in all 50 states. That includes South Carolina. This thing's down to the final matches. 1 trophy, 1 champion, and DraftKings has you covered for every single one. Take advantage of the last games remaining here, and with new DraftKings customers, you can sign up with code 1075TheGame. Spend just $5 to get $200 in total rewards over 21 days. That's code 1075TheGame. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click-to-claim issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. Ends July 19th. For terms, go to dkng.co/predictions promo.
Man, hey, let's just go and get on the line right now, man.
My patience is running thin. You're all running out of time. You was late to my practice, sir? Everybody on the line.
Man, come on.
Bars.
Oh, we're putting folks on the line today, and you know what, Preston Thorne, I think we have a pretty easy one.
Yeah,
to get to.
this one wrote itself. This is the easy one. We have the time set apart, and somehow the content gets filled. Thanks, Pawpaw.
Should we play the one of him recapping his tenure, or saying he's glad he didn't have to play at LSU with this team?
I want to hear him recap his tenure because I've read it, but I haven't heard it.
Yeah, this will be cut for Jen. This is Paul Manera on WAFB recapping his South Carolina tenure.
You know, I went there, and you inherit a team that's got some weaknesses, of course. So the first year didn't go so great, and then we started in the second year when we finally could recruit. But what a different world this recruiting is now, with the transfer portal and open transfers and NIL and revenue share and all that stuff. And we got off to a little bit of a slow start. I think we were like 12-11 or something. And, I had a meeting with the athletic director, and we just kind of agreed that it was time for me to head back to Baton Rouge, where I would go home, and maybe they'd try somebody else, because it was gonna take time there, and I really didn't have the time, at my age, and I always felt the job there was going to be a temporary assignment, but I thought it could put in 2, 3, maybe 4 years and get the program going, but they were a little impatient about it, and I wasn't, really feeling it either. So we made an agreement to head home. But like I told you, I wrote out a lot of lineups in my life. Only 80 of those were at South Carolina. So I hope, it's people's prerogative to judge me however they want to. But for me, it was just a kind of a short-term thing.
Oh, oh, brother.
Oh, this recruiting thing and transfer portal and NIL. I mean, it's a different world. You didn't know that before you took the job?
Sleep under a rock for a few years, buddy.
This guy stinks.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Dog, you didn't know what you were getting into in terms of recruiting?
Apparently, you didn't do your due diligence coming into the job, so on you.
In the whole...
And on the person who hired him, I must say that.
Yes, also that too. Can't let him off the hook. But the
Get on the line.
the whole idea of him going back in hindsight saying, yeah, this is going to take some time. There's a program that had some flaws in it. That's not what he said when he took the job.
No.
That's not what he said. So either you were not being truthful then or not being truthful now. Which one was it?
Yep.
You're fibbing somewhere.
Also, the idea of softening language, the first year was not a really great year. No, it was the worst year in program history.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very far cry from not really great. Also, the second thing he said was, well, we got off to a little bit of a slow start. No, you got beat 22-6.
And it was worse before you got a couple more runs on the board.
It's like, that's not a little bit of a slow start. You were 12-11. You had lost to Queens, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You had lost to Air Force, maybe Navy.
It's one of the service academies.
Thank you for your service. But one of them,
Northern Kentucky.
It was not a little bit of a slow start.
It was a lot of bit of a slow start. It was the worst start in the history of the program.
Yeah.
That is
Couldn't get it out of first gear.
at all. And it wasn't just that
Kept
you lost
killing it.
games last year, too. It's that you got clubbed.
Mm-hmm.
You were mauled.
But you know what the part that seriously does makes this unlikable is the idea of him saying, well, I wrote out a lot of lineup cards in my life, and only 80 of those were at South Carolina. Well, guess what? Those 80 might have been a player's whole career.
Mm-hmm.
Players don't get a chance to play at 1,400 games or for 20 years. So those 80 games, they are just as important. They're not just some blip in a player's life. That was a player's career or fans' time that they were there. That means something to us.
Yeah.
And so those little 80 games that you don't even think of, that could have been a whole player's life, and you could have changed the trajectory of an athlete during that time. And that's the part that really is like, come on, man, you don't get it.
Wasted it. Those are 80 wasted games.
Yes.
May not be a big deal for you, a big deal for the players who do not have infinite time here in the sport. So Paul Maneri, once again, get on the line. Also want to have another addition here to get on the line. Riley O'Brien, St. Louis Cardinals, come here. Come here, dog. This is an all-star game. There is no need to pitch high and tight on anybody. Junior Caminero got hit in the hands last night, the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays' only real slugger on that team of a first-place team. Thankfully, the X-rays were negative. But when I saw him get hit in the hands of that pitch, I was thinking, oh, my God, the Rays might have lost their best hitter for like 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
This is an all-star game, dog. And then he threw tight on Bobby Witt Jr., too. An all-star game. Just don't hit anybody in these things, man. Riley O'Brien, get on the line. That made me so mad last night. Hour number 3 coming up next. Turnover margin day. It continues. Look, it is going to be miserably hot outside like it has for a lot of days this summer. And if you want to golf a little more comfortably, highly recommend hitting up my friends over at Pro Swing, whether it be the Chapin location or the Forest Acres location. Pro Swing's got everything you want from an indoor golf experience, including those golf zone simulators that have over 300 plus courses that you could play at. Plenty of refreshments, plenty of TVs. It's a fantastic hangout spot. And to add to that, too, you can even improve your golf game. You have tailor-made guided demos. We can demo all of TaylorMade's new QI40 product line, drivers, woods, hybrids, and irons, along with different customized shaft options. And when it comes to swing lessons, too, they have plenty of lessons to help improve your golf game. And if you're not sure the lessons are for you, just take advantage of the summer-long free 30-minute swing evaluation. Meet with the David Ledbetter certified instructors. Take your game to the next level at Pro Swing.
Broad River Road at Roshmetz Road, an accident is still working in progress. Shop Road at Pineview Drive, also in progress. And we are looking for the heat and humidity to return. You know, it's in the middle of July. It's not going anywhere yet. So we're looking for a high today of 95 with sunny skies. And it's going to continue to be sunny the rest of the week. 98 and 99 will be the highs for Thursday and Friday. Now, we do see a chance for some afternoon scattered thunderstorms both Saturday and Sunday, but we stay in the 90s as well. Right now, though, it's already up to 80.
One more person to put on the line. I have one more person to put on the line.
Perfect. The early game, third and long hour, starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. Our man Thomas is here in the video production room here at Studio 803. And before we get into anything else, Preston Thorne still has one more submission for somebody to put on the line.
Yeah, one more submission. And this was almost maybe a combination of our last two segments, because this might be a combination of they are who they thought they were and also get on the line.
Oh, I love a good combo. A crossover, if you will.
Bam Adebayo, come here.
Should have known this was coming. I should have known this one was coming.
Come here, Bam. Listen, I think Tyler Hero might be the punk that we think he is.
Looks the part.
He might be a punk. He might have pulled a sucker move by DMing other folks talking trash about you. I understand everything that's going on here. But listen, Bam, you're not on the line for allegedly slapping Tyler Hero. You're on the line because you represent our queen, Asia Wilson. You cannot be out here besmirching Asia Wilson's name in the streets.
No.
You can't be acting like that no more. So it's not because you allegedly mushed/slapped Tyler Hero.
Which a lot of people, I'm sure, are not upset about.
I don't think that's not why you're on the line. You're on the line because you represent us now.
You're part of the family, buddy.
You're part of the family as you're a fan-in-law. I think that's maybe how this works.
Ooh, a fan-in-law. I like that.
Relationship.
I've never. Yes, fan-in-law.
There's a fan-in-law relationship here, Bam. It's not official, but it's going that direction, and you can't be acting like that. So for that, Bam Adebayo,
get on the line.
Don't embarrass our queen like that.
Early winner here. Fan-in-laws. Mm-hmm. Now I got to think of examples.
We got
other fandom-in-laws.
Got to work on it. That's it. That's all I needed to say. It's not because of what you did. It's because of who you represent.
Because depending who you ask, smacking up Tyler Hero might have been a public service. But not when you're representing the good folks of Columbia, South Carolina, buddy, because you are now. With great power comes great responsibility.
Correct.
And you cannot abuse that responsibility.
Moving on.
Great powers also would involve being able to force turnovers on defense. Today is our turnover margin day in terms of preparing for the 2026 season. One of the stats, one of my favorite ones in all of football, because I think there is almost a direct correlation between how well you turn other teams over combined with how well you take care of the football and winning, right? All of those things, you do those two things really well, you're going to win a lot of games. You look at teams that are the best in turnover margin on a year in, year out basis, they're teams that win a lot of football games. And when I went through and looked at the SEC teams last year and looked at every single game that all 16 teams played last season.
Nerd alert.
Technically, I did it through the 15. I excluded South Carolina from that narrative, but South Carolina is included. The result is baked into some of those games. I found that if you won the turnover margin in the SEC last year, you were winning 75% of your games. A 75% chance off the bat if you took care of the ball and forced the other team to turn the ball over. Incredibly self-explanatory, but I feel like that is a pretty good indicative stat of not just regression, positive or negative, but also how, I guess, complete you are as a football team at giving yourself chances to be in every game.
It seems simple. It seems almost like Captain Obvious type of stat, but it is worth noting. It is worth something that you can look for when we're trying to do the autopsy on whether we win or lose these games coming up this year. And this is something that we can definitely point to and look at directly here. Here's the turnover margin, what happened plus or minus. And also, I think I got the idea as we talked about this more, gives you the way that you feel about a game. So a lot of times you feel a certain way about the result of a game and you don't necessarily know why. Well, it might be turnover margin, because some games you might lose and you might be like, okay, we lost that game. But then other games you lose and you're like, what happened? And then you look and it's like, we were winning turnover margin and we still lost.
LSU game last year.
Those are the games you tend to feel worse about. It's like, what's going on here?
And that's like, there may be deeper things afoot.
Then you start really analyzing what's happening.
I even found this interesting too, because I got really curious. I went deeper into the Nerd Alert rabbit hole and I looked at all the one-score games in the SEC last year and looked at the turnover margin in those one-score games. 14 said games that fit that criteria.
14 one-score games?
In the SEC. Mm-hmm. Would you like to take a guess at the amount of wins the team that won the turnover margin had in those 14 games?
I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to turn it up as far as I can go.
That was what my thought would be.
And it's not right?
It's 50-50.
Okay.
The team that won the turnover margin had 7 wins. The team that lost it had 7 wins. So, in that scenario, Preston Thorne, actually, I guess that does make sense. One team has to win, one team has to lose. But when the game gets really close, what is the separator, right? Maybe not turnovers, but I think turnovers are, in terms of like the margin, it makes a one-score game not a one-score game. That helps you create your own luck, right? You can get a lot of jumbled messes at that point in time if you keep it in a one-score game, regardless of how you got there. But there is an element of creating your own luck in these type of games. And I think one of my favorite examples, because it's one of my favorite games ever, the New Orleans Saints in the Super Bowl against the Indianapolis Colts. A pick 6 made that a 7-point game to a 14-point game, and that took care of it. They won the turnover margin easily in that football game. And what was going to be a really close game was no longer in doubt because you were able to force turnovers and you didn't give up the ball.
I don't have one off the top of my mind, but there's a game archetype as a fan where your team is getting the turnovers early, but they're not pulling away. You know the game type I'm talking about, where maybe you get a turnover here, or you get an interception, you get one deep, and you kick a field goal, or you don't capitalize on in this, and you start to feel like, all right, this is not going to last forever. We've gotten 2 or 3 turnovers here. We only came out of here with 6 points. This is not a good feeling. I need to look at a game that fits that scenario, but again, the turnover margin sometimes leads to the way you feel as the game is playing out and after the game.
And for an entire season. Like if we look at South Carolina in 2025, you're +4 in turnover margin for the entire season, right? And in the games in which you won the turnover battle, you were 4-3. And it feels like you kind of left games on the table even despite winning the turnover battle. LSU is a perfect example of that. LSU is one of the games that you lost despite winning the turnover battle. And if you did not win it, then you lost all of your games, right? You were 0-4 in games where you lost the turnover margin battle, and you were 0-1 in games where that margin was 0, which is the only one was Alabama.
Do you happen to have the other games that we won the turnover margin battle and still lost?
And still found a way to end up losing? Mm-hmm. I can pull that up for you really quick, and it's going to be super duper easy.
All right.
But when you look at it right now, throughout the course of last year, you won the turnover margin against Virginia Tech, won that game. At Missouri, you were +1, lost that game. At LSU, +1, lost that game. At Texas A&M, +3, lost that game. Ooh. You were +3 at Texas A&M.
I mean, we know what happened in that game, but that makes that game even more dumbfounding. How?
Dumbfounding is the best way of putting that.
How does that happen? That might be a specific game that I'm talking about. We have the turnovers, and even we had the points. We just I don't know that we are going to. This is what we're going to do, Elijah. As the season gets closer, we're going to dedicate a show to that game, and then we're going to burn it
forever.
We're going to exercise that game out of our system.
Do we have the mental power to get that out of our system forever?
I don't know, because obviously this year, if we jump up 21-0 on the team,
what type of levels of PTSD are going to exist in this fan base? You're going to find out. If we're sitting here in a road game and doing another one of those YouTube watch parties and South Carolina gets up 21-0, I'm not going to say a thing. I will not say one damn syllable about the 21-point lead or 27-point lead.
Or 31-point lead.
Or 31, whatever it is. I will not say anything. Because now that PTSD sets in, it's real.
We got to figure out a way to exercise that demon. But, yeah, turnover margin is a very quick way to get to the meat of, hey, is this team winning or losing? Because you laid it out earlier. Who led the SEC in turnover margin? Who was at the bottom?
Texas led the league in turnover margin at plus 14. And the only games they lost, they had 9 games they won that turnover battle, won all of them. The only games they lost were if it was at 0 or they were losing the turnover battle. Arkansas, who went 2-10, their buns, they were minus 11. Now, according to Phil Steele in his magazine, Texas should be expected to either have, there's only a 30% chance that they're better than last year because of that turnover number. 70% chance, roughly, that they are the same record or worse. For Arkansas, that's the inverse, right? 70% chance that they have the same record or better. Highly doubt they get worse than 2-10. I don't think they're going to be any good. An improvement would be 3-9. So 3-9 would prove that number true. And I think that's 3-9 or 4-8 is maybe Arkansas territory.
To confirm from the conversation from earlier, we did confirm that Ryan Silverfield has given up caffeine, alcohol, and sugar for all football seasons, which I don't like it.
The head coach at Arkansas, the head coach at an SEC school, probably, I will not buy that.
Listen, if that's how you live your life, cool.
Yeah, then you're naturally wired that way.
Yeah, if that's cool. If that's how you live your life, cool. But if you're doing that during football season, I need you to have the things to get you through because it's highly stressful and you're going to need something.
Like, buddy, I enjoy myself on weekends. I sit here every morning with a can of something that's got 200 milligrams of caffeine in it. And without it, I don't function as well. I barely function well with it. I don't buy that you could just give that up for an entire football season when you're working your longest days.
Here's where you inverse that. Give it up in the off season. Use during the season. You need it. You need a performance enhancer during the season.
Tolerance break in the off season.
Yeah, take a break.
And it makes you wonder, okay, so if he's giving those things up, what are we doing?
Yeah. The energy's got to go somewhere.
What type of indulgences are occurring in the offseason, Ryan Silverfield?
Yeah, exactly.
He must be working out like a maniac. Something's got to be happening because you need a release valve. It is a high pressure. We know this is a high pressure thing. This is a very I digress, but I just think that is very interesting because he strikes me as a tryhard. And so
yes.
I'm keeping my eye on that.
Don't love that as a trait.
Don't love it. It's one of my least likable traits.
Thank you for the extra fuel for my Ryan Silverfield skepticism.
That's what caught my attention about it.
Well documented Ryan Silverfield skepticism. When it comes to South Carolina, though, in making sure that turnover margin number is adequate enough to really overachieve this year, to me it's going to come down to the natural two things, but I want to get specific on those two things. The taking care of the ball part, which you did not do very well last year, had 11 interceptions as a team from 4 different players, right? It wasn't just Lenora Sellers who threw picks last year. Cutter Woods got in on the action. Luke Doty got in on the action. Mason Love, your punter, got in on the action. You don't want 4 different players throwing interceptions throughout the course of the year and 7 different players fumbling throughout the course of the year. Lenore's had 6. Nick Harbor got in on the party. So did Isaiah Augustov, Cutter Woods, Jared Brown, Luke Doty, Rasul Faison. They all got in on that action. You got to take care of the ball a lot better. And a lot of that will start with the offensive line. It's no coincidence that everything that we're going to bring up this offseason can eventually come down to how well can you block, right? Other fumbles are going to happen, but when it comes to your quarterback having 6 of them, it's probably best to keep defenders out of the backfield as much as possible if that is a possibility.
That is the point that I wanted to bring up, and maybe we can go into it a little bit later. But the idea, I wonder how many of those fumbles were behind the line of scrimmage. Ooh. Right? Because if you're fumbling behind the line of scrimmage, yes, it is your responsibility to take care of the ball. Yes. Yes. However, if you're getting blindsided or if you're getting hit when you're trying to make something happen, I don't know if that's the same as, just running the ball and recklessly not protecting the ball. So I would wonder how many of those fumbles were behind on the line of scrimmage where they blindside hits, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, I am caping for Lenora Sellers. Yes, I am trying to justify all of this. Yes, I'm guilty. But I think you need to be guilty of that too, because that is our hope for the season.
And last thing, on the defensive side of the ball, there's one player that I look at that is going to be the game stealer for you, that you can look at as the game stealer. Vakari Swain.
Yep.
The only returning player on your team this year that had multiple interceptions and forced multiple fumbles. That's a big deal. And not only is he a game changer in punt returns and kick returns, if you want to steal one of those games, like at Alabama, maybe against Georgia, Texas A&M, you look at those 3 games right there, which I can almost guarantee you'll be underdogs in all 3 of them. You're going to have to be able to win the turnover battle, and you need somebody who's going to be able to make that magic happen on defense. And with a Clayton White defense that's been littered with players like that, Vakari Swain fits that mold the most going into this year. I think he's going to have to be that. If we're having to dub one game stealer for South Carolina this year, I'm looking at it being Vakari Swain. But coming up next, though, we're continuing our national college football preview. Today, we're talking about that one team in the upstate where it is a big narrative season for them, and we'll explain why next. Today at 3 o'clock, England, Argentina, with a chance to go to the championship of that highly coveted trophy that is only given out every 4 years that you have to earn. It's one of the best tournaments in all of sports. You're running out of time to get in on this action. You can do that with my friends over at DraftKings, because DraftKings is live in all 50 states. And that means that South Carolina, with your chances dwindling, now is the best time to download the DraftKings app and take care of all the action you can get in on here in South Carolina. And new DraftKings customers, just sign up with code 1075TheGame. Spend $5, get $200 in total rewards over 21 days. That's code 1075TheGame. With DraftKings, the crown is yours. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click-to-claim issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. Ends July 19th. For terms, go to dkng.co/predictions promo. I have a feeling I will be a Ryan Silverfield denier forever.
Still a bit of a slowdown. Broad River Road at Rochemetz Road as they get an earlier accident cleaned up. Shop Road at Pineview Drive, also that situation there. 95 with sunshine today, 98 tomorrow, sunny skies. That'll continue pretty much through Friday, and maybe some scattered afternoon or evening thunderstorms coming up this weekend. But right now, it is 80.
Shout out to my man Troy on the YouTube stream. He says, y'all about to talk about Furman?
I like it. I like the dedication.
Do they wear purple pants at Furman? I know they wear white pants. Do they have a uniform combo that is also purple breeches?
Good question.
Because then they could also qualify as the purple pants in the upstate. Can't remember how Furman did this past year. Wasn't as locked in on the FCS this past year. But we are talking about Clemson today, taking our first look at that team in the upstate. Because we're the home of the Gamecocks. We talk South Carolina football every single day here, but your biggest rival is a part of the college football landscape, a big one. It's a big part of your season every year. It's the one that you end the season with every single year, and you get them on the road this season. But they're coming off of maybe their most disappointing season. I'm not a Clemson football historian, but I can't imagine there are many seasons in that program's history where it was more disappointing than last year, given what the expectations were, given the amount of NFL talent on the roster. They're going to have to bounce back, and this is a big narrative season. If you want to take, a handful of teams in college football and coaches in college football and objectively look at them as having narrative seasons this year, Clemson is on the very short list of ones that are in one of the more intriguing positions because of the pedigree over the last 10 years and the success they've had, mixed in with a season like last year.
Yeah, I said earlier that it's a hot seat season, and I want to reframe that. This is are we done here season for them up there. And I mean this from both sides, Dabo and the institution. Because there seems to be this conversation that's building where they have increased expectations, as they should, but the person who is responsible for those increased expectations is telling them, hey, chill out. Look what all that I've done around here. And they're saying, yes, you have done all this, and we want more. We are accustomed to living this certain life. You've given us all of these beautiful, fine things that we're living in, and now you're telling us that we can't have more. And that there just seems to be a narrative that's driving towards they need to be successful. I would say now, another 7-win season, there will be significant changes at Clemson.
A 7-win season especially. And here's the thing that's so crazy about this too, is you have to start off playing at LSU to start the year. Now, LSU has a lot of question marks too, and mostly because their team is so transfer portal heavy, and there is a new coach. There is no telling, with 100% certainty what LSU is going to be. Now, they were in a similar position like you last year where they were disappointing. They won that game at Clemson to start the season. But you have to start off with a pretty tough test, and that can set a tone for what the rest of your season ends up looking like. Now, if you win it, then that can propel you to do a lot of great things in your conference, which is obviously a very winnable conference. You have some teams in that league that are really good. Your Miami's really good. I think SMU's going to have a solid season, too. I think they've got a good squad coming back. I love what Brent Key's done at Georgia Tech. I think that conference has gotten a little bit better. It's not a powerhouse by any means, but I do believe it has gotten a little bit better at the top especially. But a season like last year where you end up having, what was it, 9 players drafted?
Yes.
It was more players drafted than you had wins. That puts a lot of pressure to turn things around. And doing that with a quarterback who was going to be a first full-time starter. He has started games, right? He got that spot start against SMU last year. They lost the game, but I thought he played well. I thought Christopher Vizina played well in that game. So I can maybe, if they're telling me that he looks good in camp, they like what he's got, I can believe it. But that's still a lot of pressure for somebody who's going to be a full-time starter in their first, in the college game for the first time. Given the circumstances that program's going through right now, that's a tough spot to be in.
And this is the first time in a decade where they've had a quarterback with question marks around him. Since 2015, Deshaun Watson took over that position. You've always had a five-star dude who they thought was going to be better than the next guy. Now, DJ didn't work out. We get that. But there were people saying that, oh, no, yeah, Trevor Lawrence went number one, but DJ's better. I was like, come on, man, that's not. This can't happen.
Couldn't buy into that.
It's not going to work. But the expectation was there. Then Cade came in. And so this young man, when he's coming in, there are question marks around him. And not only question marks around him, there's question marks around the offense. Clemson's offense has been stagnant, unimaginative, and ultimately they ended up making a change. Went back when they got some of that old thing back.
A little bit of nostalgia hiring.
When they got some of that old thing back, and they're going to see if they can try and make it happen again.
And who knows, maybe it works. Some of those reunions can work.
Feels like the very first time.
Or you can be like my maternal grandparents who married each other multiple times. And guess what? They're not right now.
I love that story.
Married.
I love that story whenever I was like, oh, you want to try it again? And then you get in there, it's like, no.
There's a reason this didn't work out.
No. And as I said earlier, when Chad Morris left, there weren't Clemson fans who were pining for him to stay. They were like, cool, because we got these two young Thundercats behind him, Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott. We're going to be just fine. And also, that lent to doing things the Clemson way. Dabo promotes these guys from within the program. They're his guys. It works. And that set the tone for the way he did hiring practices moving forward. It worked for Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott. It did not work when they tried to put Wes Godwin in for
Brent Venables.
Yeah.
Big drop off.
And I would argue that was not the same dudes. But it set the tone for the way, and people are starting to question the way, the Clemson way, the Dabo way.
I think that's what taps into my curiosity about this program, or at least why I'm fascinated with the position they're in. I think it is a unique position because you have a coach who has a pedigree as good as anybody else in the sport, right? Him and Kirby, the only ones I can think of right now that are currently coaching that have multiple national championships. Clearly what he has done in his career has worked and taken them to some incredible heights. But then the sport changes, things change within the sport, and he's forced to have to adapt. He was reluctant to it for the longest time, but now you've seen him embrace the transfer portal a little bit more. A player like Will Helt, who I think is going to be one of their better defensive players this year, is a guy they got from Purdue, a guy who was a game wrecker when they played here in Columbia this past November, unfortunately for South Carolina. They tapped in more into the transfer portal this offseason. You can see that there's a little bit of, maybe through, gritted teeth, accepting of the way that things are, but he still has to adapt to this new landscape of college football. And then when you come off a year like they just had, it's going to make it a little harder for people to be patient. And that's when you have this real dynamic clashing of loyalty to the success you had and trying to find new ways to win in college football in the year of our Lord 2026.
Yeah, I'm not a Clemson fan. Don't ever put that on my jacket. But I mean, how long of a runway does he have? How much do they owe him to let him try and do his things his way? I think that's a philosophical question for those people to answer.
Mm-hmm. One with no easy answer.
There's no easy answer to that, though.
Yeah, I would absolutely attest that there is no easy answer to that. There's also no easy answer to finding Preston Thorne's NFL fan crush, right? His 1-year NFL fandom contract has to be signed by the time training camp rolls around. We'll continue our matchmaking process with Preston Thorne. Today, we're going to look at higher or lower scoring games, game styles. We'll find out Preston's preferences and find him a match next year on the early game.
Preston here for our good friends at the Men's Clinic. Listen, the year is halfway through, and maybe you've set some resolutions and you've been working and you're not getting the results that you thought you would. It might be time to call Dr. Dan Baltnight at the Men's Clinic. Dr. Dan Baltnight is a respected local physician, and maybe he'll be able to help you reach all the goals that you need to help. This is not some nameless, faceless online portal where you just send your information into and they send you some numbers back. No, this is an actual person, a person who can help with you and can deal with some of the issues that you might be working through. At the Men's Clinic, you'll find a non-threatening, comfortable environment where your concerns are welcome. Come on in, get a free initial consultation with Dr. Dan Baltnight. Get your T levels checked. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or you can visit them online at mensclinicsc.com.
Still a slowdown Shop Road at Pineview Drive. Other than that, earlier accidents have been cleared, so wonderful news there. And we do hope you're safe the remainder of the day. We're looking for a sunny day today. Actually, sunshine the rest of this week. 95, that's what we're going to expect today. Increased humidity the rest of this week. 98 tomorrow, 99 on Friday. It's sunshiny. Sunshinies, that's a word. I just made that up. And it's 80. 107.5 The Game.
Before we get into the matchmaking here, Preston Thorne, we did get a good text on the Firehouse Ups text line from Scott. He said, "This is Scott. Who needs to win game one more, Dabo or Lane? I'll be pulling for both of them to lose."
Yeah, I'll be locked in. I'm gonna be honest. I think Dabo needs that one more.
That's what I answered to. I think I responded that Dabo, I think, needs to win it.
When you say needs, Dabo needs that because Lane has already set the foundation by saying, "Oh, he already kind of gave us it might take some time. It's new."
Even though that's not going to land.
It's not true. But that game one buys him a little bit of time. I think Dabo needs that one.
I think in a college football playoff landscape, I think that's where being in the SEC helps a little bit because you have at least the opportunity. A lot of coaches complain about a 9-game schedule, and I'll go ahead and lay this out right now. I didn't mean to bring this up at any point today, but the opportunity just presented itself. I don't want to hear one coach whining and complaining about playing 9 conference games.
I'm glad we were on the same accord on that. Also, while I'm here, I don't want to hear anything about strength of schedule either.
Yeah. How about we be big boys and play the schedule that you're given? And if you don't want to play that schedule, and you don't want to play 9 SEC games,
there's the door.
Yeah, I'm sure the ACC or the Big 10 or the Big 12 would love to have you. I'm sure they would love to take somebody from the SEC. I'm sure they would love it. But you can't take the money and still complain about having to play games in the SEC. I don't want to hear it. I absolutely do not want to hear that at all at SEC Media Days. And I'll be taking note at who complains. I'll be taking mental notes at who's complaining and crying from a yacht when we're in Tampa next week. But when it comes to Preston Thorne's NFL fandom, we've already gone through a few tiers, right, of certain criteria, like running the ball. The Bills, Giants, Ravens, and Seahawks fit the bill there for Preston Thorne. History of winning, the Seahawks, Cowboys, Vikings, and Dolphins fit that bill really well. And then what we had yesterday was the underdog tier, right? The level of underdog that Preston Thorne would prefer. It ends up being Chiefs, Eagles, Patriots, and Chargers. And I won't say they're underdogs. Preston wants a winner. You're here for a good time, not a long time. Today, we'll go to more of the heart of his football fandom and his game preference. So our game preference tier, the higher the tier from 1 to 8, for those who don't know, I tier every single team into 8 groups of 4. Makes 32 teams. And Preston will go on a scale of 1 to 8 how high his preference is for certain things. And then whatever his answer is the tier that has teams that fit that criteria. So for today, it is game preference tier. The higher the tier, the higher scoring games this team plays, or the higher percentage of overs that hit, right? Teams that will score more than expected on a week-to-week basis. The lower the tiers, the lower scoring games these teams partake in. So Preston Thorne, on a scale of 1 to 8, what is your game preference here?
Before I say it out loud, I want you to write down what you think I'm going to say.
All right, written down, showing you right now. It's the number that's circled and all the chicken scratch on my my notepad that look like the markings of a madman.
That's the number I wanted to say, but I'm going to bump up a little bit, and I'm going to go with 3.
I wrote down 2. I'm going to
go with 3.
So Preston Thorne says 3, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight this
because
on
in the NFL, you can have low-scoring games with high amounts of skill. I think sometimes when you have low-scoring games in college, it's like this game was just ugly, which I'm here for too.
It's Iowa.
I like that too. But in the NFL, there is another level of skill that can be played in a relatively low-scoring game.
And this is also, what is your tolerance for punting is offense?
Not mad at it.
Now, I'll say the teams that you avoided in Tier 2 were the Buccaneers, the Panthers, Broncos, and Eagles.
None of those teams sound appealing to me.
Tier 1, if you were wanting to go really on the extreme, Texans, Chargers, Saints, Chiefs.
You sold me a little bit on the Chargers. There was some conversation we had about the Chiefs. That might have been my tier, but I didn't want to go extreme.
So you went a little bit higher. You gave yourself some room for
just
a little
bit of joy.
Yeah, a little more scoring and excitement on your Sundays. The teams in Tier 3 are the Chicago Bears.
Jen.
Shout out Jen. The Cleveland Browns.
Yuck.
The Las Vegas Raiders. And the Minnesota Vikings. Your boy, J.J. McCarthy. He's going to find you.
Is he contributing to the under if he's on the bench? What's his role on the?
What's his role going to be? Is he even going to start? We don't even know. I have a feeling Kyler Murray's going to get
I wrote down
starts.
Chicago Bears, Las Vegas, J.J. McCarthy.
I didn't even put down the Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy. Justin Jefferson's fun, though.
Yes, he is, and I kind of almost starting to feel a little bit bad for him. None of those teams sound necessarily. I probably should have went with my instinct and went with Group 1, but the Bears, cool. Las Vegas, you are a little bit more intrigued by Las Vegas this year than I am.
I'm intrigued by them. Do I think they're going to be good? No. Do I think they're going to compete for the AFC West title? No, that division's just way too good. Their schedule is still a couple of years down the road to really compete. They still need more help when it comes to the wide receiver position. I think they may need more help when it comes to certain parts of the defense, even though their defense got a lot better. But I am intrigued with the idea of watching Fernando Mendoza handing the ball off to Ashton Genty in a, Clint Kubiak style offense.
Brock Bowers
At tight end.
He's
a
awesome.
lot of fun. They signed the best run blocking center in football in Tyler Linderbaum. I'm intrigued with what they have, and I think they'll be fun and interesting. I don't know if they're going to be really good.
I love Las Vegas as a city.
Fun town, 48-hour town.
1,000%.
If there's ever been such a thing as a 48-hour town on planet Earth, Las Vegas is one of them. But the Vikings will be fun too. Offensively, they can figure the quarterback thing out. If you have anything in Kyler Murray or J.J. McCarthy, you have maybe one of the best trios of wide receivers in the NFL with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and they signed Jawan Jennings in the offseason, the guy who I think is maybe your ideal number 3 wide receiver in the NFL. There's a lot of watchability with what they do on offense.
I would just go ahead and eliminate the Cleveland Browns out of this conversation.
Oh, man, why?
Pick a reason. You can pick several. If I could give you 5 off the top of my head, but let's just go with the one being they had the most dominant defensive player in the league and they traded him away. So that's not. I don't have a very strong appetite for that.
You're not excited to watch Jared Verse have to try to will that defense?
And he's pretty good too. But man, imagine you're Jared Verse. You're at the top of your game. You live in LA. You make a lot of money, and they tell you, "Hey, pack your stuff. You're going to Cleveland."
I would be sick to my stomach.
Not great.
I'm like, hey, can I veto that trade? No, you can't. Not when it involves us getting Myles Garrett. I'm sorry, buddy. Pack a coat.
Man. That's a tough spot.
Now, I will say with the Vikings, that's the second criteria the Vikings have matched with.
Okay.
Right now, the Seahawks and Vikings have both matched 2 different criteria.
All right.
When it comes to this entire matchmaking process.
I will trust the process. I will trust the process.
And I'm going to write down the Browns here just for scorekeeping here. I'll write them down on the sheet, even though they are emotionally eliminated.
Yes.
You have one match with the Dolphins, Cowboys, Bills, Giants, Ravens, Chargers, Patriots, Eagles, Chiefs, Bears, Raiders, and Browns. And 2, our only multi-team match here, Seahawks and Vikings. That's us trying to find a winner of a team for Preston Thorne to cheer for in 2026. We'll give you our winners of today's show, however, coming up next year on the early game. It's always been that way.
Yeah, like Summer League basketball.
Yeah, it's Summer League, dog. Look, if you're looking for apparel, custom apparel, and professional printing all in one place, I've got a place for you, because you've been around this area for a while. You know that School Cuts has been the Midland's trusted source for the type of screen printing and embroidery for, doesn't matter what, team uniforms, company shirts, any type of custom apparel. School Cuts has been delivering that quality. Well, now they're part of the Minuteman Press family. And if you're not familiar with Minuteman Press, they are responsible for all really cool signage, a complete line of products and services. I've been at Minuteman Press in the building, and they can really print anything, any type of custom made signage that you need. They got, I saw thermoses, I saw koozies, anything that you could possibly have printed, Minuteman Press can do. And combining with School Cuts, it's now your one-stop shop for all apparel, printing signs, banners, promotional products. Visit them today at either location, 1415 Gervais Street, Columbia, or at 518 Westender Street in West Columbia.
Winners.
And every day we fulfill Coach Singletary's request for winners, brought to you by the Golden Spur, a winner of a place to get dinner, a winner of a place to sponsor this segment. My first winner of the day, though, Preston Thorne, a term that you have coined.
Okay.
I do love a good early game original.
What's up?
Fan-in-law.
Fan-in-law. We're fan-in-laws. Hey, listen, Bam Adebayo, we respect you. We've already given you the riot rack. You sat in the living room. We told you what our expectations. We asked you, what are our plans for, what do you have planned for her? You can't be out there slapping people, man.
Nope. Those days are over.
Those days are over. You represent us now. And we will in turn represent you. I'm sure there are a lot more. If you look like on one of those heat maps, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more attention, Google searches for Bam Adebayo coming out of Columbia, South Carolina now than there were previous.
Maybe more Miami Heat viewings in Columbia, South Carolina, because we are fan-in-laws.
That's right.
With Bam Adebayo.
That's right.
I was trying to think of other precedents in my life where I had a fan-in-law. I was a big fan of Candace Parker.
Okay.
She was married to Sheldon Williams, so I was a fan-in-law of Sheldon Williams.
Yeah.
His career did not pan out very well with the Atlanta Hawks.
No. She was, clearly the better player.
Candace, star.
Yeah.
Sheldon Williams, a little bit of a bust.
Bam, not a bust, right? Not a bust.
Oh, no.
But very difficult, where you could have made the argument that Candace was the best player in the universe at a moment.
Yes, 100%.
And I guarantee I make that argument now for Asia. So it's very difficult when you are the number 2 professional basketball player in your.
And you scored an 83 points in a single game. You had an 83-point game. And it's still that way. Now, if you're Sheldon Williams, it's like, there's a difference between you and Bam Adebayo in terms of dating the best player. Which I think Sheldon Williams and Candace Parker, got married. Mm-hmm. But being, in a relationship with the greatest women's basketball player in the world, Bam Adebayo a little bit better. Sheldon Williams is like Bam Adebayo if Bam couldn't shoot, rebound, pass, dribble, defend at the NBA level. Almost no differences, except those minor things right there.
I'm going to give my winner to another term that we coined, the game changer, Vakari Swain. did not realize that he's the only player coming back this year who's both intercepted a pass and forced a fumble on defense. And if you want to obviously add on, scored a touchdown, returning punts. That guy is somebody who you stated earlier this week that you don't think is getting enough attention, and that might be great because it might be somebody who bursts on the scene and becomes this known commodity that we here have known about for a long time.
Especially on turnover margin day, where we really dove into a lot of turnover margin numbers and how that equates to winning and what impact that had on South Carolina last year, what it's going to have on them this year. If you want to look at one player who can single-handedly make your turnover margin better to the point where it can steal you games that you might be underdogs in, Vakari Swain's the perfect type of player because of the aforementioned punt returning, but also he got so much better in coverage. You mentioned earlier in the show, too, how good he is coming off of the edge for blitzes. That forces a lot of turnovers, too. I would love to see a number of how many quarterback fumbles were caused by, corner blitzes. And Clayton White, I don't know what it is that makes him so good at this, but perfectly timing a corner blitz. You can't just call it on any play. It has to be a situation that is perfect for it. The nuances of that I may never understand. But one thing I do know is I know it when I see it, right? Potter Stewart, Supreme Court type beat. I know it when I see it. And Vakari Swain being used by Clayton White for that perfectly timed corner blitz has been fantastic in that role. He is so good at forcing those turnovers that he may be the ultimate game stealer for you on this roster.
I want to give another quick winner to Kevin Schnall for making us excited about baseball again, because we were once again reminded that we had to dump that loser, and I will clearly say it now, that loser, Paul Maneri. Goodbye, good riddance. We are moving forward.
And for those who missed it, Paul Maneri still hasn't let it go. He went on a television station in Louisiana and talked about South Carolina.
It's totally fine to talk about your life experiences.
Yes.
Those are yours. However, the way he frames it as if this was just a blip, it didn't work. He takes no personal responsibility, no accountability, and the way he dismisses his time here in Columbia, or he said there. He didn't even say the name of our institution, our town, any of that. Move on. We're done.
If you happen to miss that segment and that little audio clip, it is on our podcast page now.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
We put him on the line.
No, we absolutely put him on the line. Because you know what would have made, what the only thing that is missing in all of that is him saying, hey, look, not my best moment as a coach. I'm sorry for the kids that played for me. We didn't achieve our goals, and for that, I'm sorry it didn't work out. But I'm still proud of the career I had. Nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that at all. Saying, I'm not going to look back at my time at South Carolina as the highlight of my career. I'm going to think back about winning a national championship, going to a lot of College World Series. I can sleep well at night knowing what my career is. But to kind of just diminish it, I think that is what's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Diminish it and still not take any responsibility for the disaster that happened.
He gets permanent pork chop status.
Oh, man.
Top pork chop. We've had a movement in the pork chop rankings.
Paul Maneri, come on down. Permanent on the pork chop rankings. I don't know if that's a winner, but I do know Tyler Head and Jack Veltri, they're winners, and they're coming up next.